welcome to today's issues, where we come to the table and discuss current affairs in our city of Pittsburgh. And today I got sitting at my table Ms. Amber, Mr. Bernard, and Miss Robin. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is the first episode, y'all. We're going to discuss a lot of good things today, and we're going to get down and positive. Thought I was going to say dirty, didn't I? We're going to get down and positive. And today we're going to address a lot of good topics as far as mental health and just the state of Pittsburgh in its whole. And also we're going to talk about some new judges that we got and elected officials and council people, and also the opportunities that we have going on here in our city of Pittsburgh. Is it moving forward? Is it staying the same, or is it going backwards? So let's get this discussion started, and let's address some of our issues that we have currently in the news here in Pittsburgh, where we had a tragic situation with a lovely little girl. She was 3 years old, that was murdered by a family member, her mother. And we just want to discuss and just put on the table about how people's mental statuses are that do these things, as far as this your mental health, and if you're crying out for help, or your family listening, and where can you go to get help? Sometimes when you be struggling with certain things to make you act out and do certain things like this that is a tragedy, are they acceptable to getting help? And when people do offer, are they willing to take it? And how can we just help them to address the issue about their mental status and everything? So let's get talking. So Ms. Robin, how do you feel about that as far as just people in general and their mental health issues?
Well, I believe that there's still so much stigma and discrimination for people needing help that it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to see in a loved one that we might think that they may be having a problem, but because it's our family members, and we don't want people to think that my family member is having some issues that need outside help. And I can take personally from an example. Years ago, I had a brother that was killed by a drunk driver. And my mom's mental state was at risk. And we as a black family did not seek professional help, but what my father did to help my mother was to bring 2 small children into our lives, to give her something to do, to keep her mind going. And that's just my personal firsthand experience. There's, not knowing all the issues that surround this situation.
Yeah,
this tragic.
And it's a very touchy situation.
Exactly.
Too, because majority of the time, it is someone close to us. It is our family member. And sometimes the person, they can resist the help. You know what I mean? To make
But do we know that? And one of the things, I don't want to sit here at this table acting as if I know that particular situation, which is why I gave a personal experience of how we dealt with it. Was it the right way? Right. It actually helped my mother from going crazy, and she was able to parent the rest of us who were already in school all day, and my father thought that was a way of helping. But just to identify that we didn't seek professional help. Now we got a lot of professional help, and it's hard to get it because of still stigma. And I'm talking about stigma and discrimination. My father didn't want people to know that his wife was about to lose her mind.
Right.
Especially when they only offered her $12 for his death.
Right.
Can you imagine? And I'm pretty old,
right.
But that was really traumatic.
Right.
And so not knowing all the mitigating factors for this young lady, I think that before we really pinhole this into more than what we know, we need to really deal with a broad hand.
Yeah, and just know that there might have been certain other things going on with her to make her act in that way, and just to take a life, but we can't say that, we just gotta, deal with it.
I do believe that someone knew that there was something going on, whether it was.
They did. Because I talked to a few of the family members. She's actually not even from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She's from Buffalo, New York. So I talked to her aunt. I haven't talked to her maternal grandmother because her real mother's deceased. But they were reaching out, but her only complaint was her struggle of a financial burden, and they felt as though everybody is going through something financially. Right. To me, my personal opinion, I believe if they seen the behaviors or something going on, someone should have stepped in. You know what I'm saying? And as black people and black families, we don't want to believe that people suffer from mental health, depression, whatever it may be, because a lot of us, because myself, personally, I grew up, my mother had a nervous breakdown. And people have different types of nervous breakdowns, and some nervous breakdowns can tend, and this is my personal experience, you can become violent or you can become nonviolent. In my situation, my mother became schizophrenic from her nervous breakdown. So it all depends on the type of nervous breakdown you have. She may have had a nervous breakdown where she done something, and me personally, I believe she panicked and tried to hide the baby. At the end of the day, but I really don't want to touch, you know what I'm saying, speak on it. Yeah. But I do know,
we just
I talk to the family.
Raise awareness.
Right.
But if you're out there struggling and you're depressed and you don't know what to do and your emotions is all over, it's okay to accept help. It's okay
but
to ask
people
for
don't realize that they're depressed a lot of times. People don't realize they're depressed until they're in the pits.
I think historically in our community, talking to a professional has been a taboo subject.
I talk to one. I do. It helps me. Yeah. I do.
One of the things that I've done over the last couple of years, especially on my Facebook page, social media pages, is to address the subjects and to address the issues, to expose it so that we can have some frank conversations about it. And a lot of times with my posts, I even tag a lot of local therapists to get their input and insight, and even meeting with some of our mutual friends who are licensed therapists, or friends who listen to stories all day long. They need a outlet and a release as well. So
you're saying they need people to talk to.
Well, some of our therapist friends said that they sometimes on a monthly basis or a weekly basis go see a different therapist so that they can, you know, talk about the things that they experience and go through. So in their opinion, everyone needs someone to talk to regardless of where you're at in your life. And as far as where the resources are, I know Erica Upshur, one of our friends.
She does pro bono, actually.
Yeah, I think last year she said she gave out $40,000 worth of free services. So just because you don't have money, just because you don't have insurance, there's definitely resources.
Me and a mutual friend, actually, who was in contact with Adrian before she was ever arrested, and she was going through her, you know, after the baby was deceased, and she was going through mentally, we actually referred her to Erica. You know what I'm saying? And told her when you're ready and if you're ready to go talk about it, you know what I'm saying? There's a person that you can go to, which is Erica Upshur, but she never reached out.
But you know, that also leads to when we are aware, how do we stand in the gap for that person? How do we actually help them make that move? Being an advocate. How do we take them from point A to point B? Because being a person in long-term recovery from substance abuse too is a mental health disorder. People don't want to believe that, but it is. No one does the things that I have done or others are doing and not have a mental health disorder. However, there's places that we were able to go, and I had to seek outside help. And sometimes it was through going through a penal system. Like I got a nudge from the judge. It was like through that relationship, it was like you need to go to 12-step meetings, you need to go to see a counselor for drug and alcohol. And speaking of some private small organizations, there's GNS counseling for drug and alcohol. GNS services is the Joneses, George and Sharon Jones. Yeah, and then my organization can help navigate Message Gears of Pennsylvania, different resources. And then we have our bigger conglomerates like UPMC, who have a multitude of services. However, sometimes we, as a cultural sensitive or group of people, we might want to stick closer to those who look more like us and maybe be able to identify more with us. And that's not to say that that's the end all to be all, that all services can be helped. But getting back to we having knowledge of situations,
Right.
being the ones to like try to shuffle or lead that person in, like mentoring.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that we get out there. You know, our prayers and condolences goes out to the family.
Absolutely.
And there is support for, you know, a system for everybody. Just get out there, and if you can call up somebody to talk to and stuff like that, and just to get some help, and it's okay. And it's okay. If you're feeling down, it's okay to talk to somebody and get that help. And like I said, our prayers and condolences goes out to the young lady and her family. And when we come back, we'll be touching on some more topics, some heavy ones, talk about some councilmen and judges and Allegheny County executives, and see what great things they're starting in their new, what is it?
Campaign.
Term?
Yeah, in their new term.
And how important it is to be a registered voter if you didn't like who was
So
selected.
we'll be right back. Thanks.
Make sure
You join
Our discussion.
With
Today's issues.
And we're back with today's issues. So we're going to touch base on some of our local candidates that are now in office, as far as our new judges and our councilmen and our Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald. I know he's doing a lot of good things for our city, as far as trying to create diversity in some of our organizations, as far as the police force and EMT workers and stuff like that. Just, you know, broaden it, you know, getting more minorities working and stuff like that. I know I work with them as far as, you know, getting information out there on how to, if you wanted to be a police officer or if you wanted to be an EMT worker, some of the things that he has to offer as far as, you know, maybe you have to get ready to take the test. So if you go to the go to the city county website, all the information's on there about being able to take tests and everything that you have to do to create a more diverse police force. So big ups to Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald. And also we got some new judges. What's the new judges, Amber? Or Bernard.
wrote them down, yeah.
For magistrate for the Hunwood area, I'm not sure of the entire area, but Kevin Cooper Jr.
Kevin Cooper Jr. That is not the father, right?
That's not the father.
That's the son.
Right.
Okay.
For Allegheny County, Hugh McGraw, Jennifer Staley McCready, and Dan Reagan won the election in the spring primary.
So we were like talking about how good it would be if we had more minority judges in our communities, because we need that diversity as far as people who, you know, who we're going to stand in front of as far as judges and stuff like that in our community, because that really affects us. You know, you go to your local magistrate. I know over on Fifth Avenue you got Judge Petit over there, but as far as that's about it in that area as far as
I think
Black judges.
two main issues that really stick out for me. One is candidates and funding those races. It costs a lot of money to run for office.
Yeah, they said it costs like what, $7,000?
Well, I think that's just a fee for the Democratic committee just to run, the filing fee. So I think there's a lot of other money that's associated.
So you got a filing fee that you need is like a few $1,000s, and if you're like a lawyer and you're just working, you know what I mean, and then you say I'm going to run for judge, and you got to get this money just to put your name on the ballot to be able to run.
Well, that's why they have a lot of fundraising events that are, you know, per plate. These things are monies that goes to their race.
Just on city council, I know some of the candidates on average spend between $50,000 to $100,000. So when you talk about state representative and you start talking about judicial candidates, where they're not just representing one community, they're representing the entire county.
Right.
There's a lot of money that needs to be raised. So one, for our community, we need viable candidates. Two, we need to know what their history is, what their resume look like, and make sure that they, a candidate that really is going to support us. Yeah. Three, we need to help fundraise and volunteer on those campaigns.
But I think in 4, they need to get out here and be in the community.
Exactly.
Vote too, but
that's my biggest thing.
The biggest thing I have
if I see you in Homewood and you A1, no, seriously. Like how we was just talking about Patrick Conley. He bowed out of the race, but he still comes back to Homewood and he gives. Those are the type of people I feel like should be in office. Yeah. If you're not going to come in and you're running, my thing is if you're running and you're in Homewood, you have to make yourself heard and seen.
Right. I think that's what any neighborhood, if you're on the north side, Homewood, East Liberty.
But no, my thing is that you have to come into the urban communities.
Right. You have to come into the community in its whole. If you want the city to stand behind you, you got to do city stuff. I mean, kiss some babies, give some book bags, project bundle up. I don't care, but it can't be like 3 months before the race. Or 6 months. No, you need to.
We as a community.
That's why I said Patrick Conley's still around.
But we as a community got to stand up. We as a community need to be registered voters. First and foremost, we're talking about putting people in. The reason people get in, whether we like them or not, is because they have people who are registered to vote. One thing being in my position is anytime legislation comes down and I call that legislator, the first thing they're going to do is check out is Robin Horston Spencer a registered voter in my district first and foremost, in my state, in my county. And if I'm not, I don't work for them. They don't work for me. We have to learn that these politicians work for us, not the other way around. And I think that educating us
on voting
and how important it is.
I could tell you something when it comes to voting where a lot of people, why, to me, my experiences from being incarcerated and doing time in federal prison. When you're in prison, they tell you, and you're arrested and you're going through court, they tell you you lose your privilege to vote. No longer by the law. The state of Pennsylvania, if you're a convicted felon, once you're done serving your time, you can be on parole, probation. You can register to vote. And I share that information.
And a lot of people don't know that.
No matter what, I spread that word. I vote. Once you're done with your sentence, you can vote. And a lot of people don't realize that. They be thinking because they committed a crime, they lost their right to vote. Because that's what they tell us. So if we don't research it, we don't know it.
They don't know.
But this is why
as in position, we have to share that information.
Exactly.
And I
Every
share
day
it.
you got to share everything.
Yes.
I don't know if they teach this in schools. They probably don't, but just the differences between the roles of government. For example, if you live in Point Breeze and you live on Penn Avenue, if you have an issue with the garbage being picked up, then that's Reverend Burgess' district, city council member. So you would call Reverend Burgess' office if you had an issue with your garbage. If you live on the same street and there's a pothole issue, then you would call State Representative Ed Gainey's office because Penn Avenue and Point Breeze is part of Route 8, which is a state road. So we have to
start educating
each other about
get in contact
what each person. Just because something's going on in Homewood, well, let's call State Representative Ed Gainey.
But sometimes you got to call your committee person for that district.
So that may not be the first step.
Contacts Ed. So you know what I'm saying? It's a chain of events.
Chain of command.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And it also goes back to they need to get out here so people do know. Call Ricky Burgess for your garbage, not Ed Gainey. You know what I mean? You got to get out there.
Who is Ricky Burgess?
Okay, and so
we're not going to talk about that.
So
I live in Homewood.
Okay, so he's your council.
So
I live in Belmore Gardens. Who is it?
My councilman is Daniel Lavelle. Yeah, my state representative is Jake Wheatley. We
Who's
say
that?
hi. We say hello
Who's
to all the people, and and Ed
Ed Gainey is our superstar. Hey, I love you, Ed Gainey.
She loves you, Ed Gainey.
Oh, he knows.
But yeah, so basically what we're trying to say is if you're elected official, a council person, state rep, whatever you are, you got to get out here in the community, in your city, before it's time for election, and do stuff with the people. Now, one thing I can say about Ed, he's everywhere. I mean, I see him on Facebook, IG, and Twitter, and he got like about 6 events. But it's just he's supporting his community, and he shows his face, and stuff like that. And that's what we need, even the judges. You know, please don't come around me when you want me to sign that paper, and I ain't saying you. I'm not signing
We
the paper.
definitely have to support Ed and Jake, and here's the reason why. There's over 200 state reps in the state of Pennsylvania.
Right.
There's a little over 20 of them that's of color. 17 or 18 of them come from Philadelphia. We have 2 in Western PA, and I believe there's an Asian American state representative in Dauphin County, Philadelphia. So when people say, well, what is Ed doing? What is Jake doing? They're doing the best they can, but they're a small minority compared to
and we got to support that.
The eastern part of the state where there's a whole block. You know, now the Philly block and the Western PA block, they work together, but we need to do what we can to get more state representatives that look like us and who care about us.
Diversity.
In our region so that we can have a bigger influence in Harrisburg. And there's so many opportunities. I was just talking to someone yesterday about Penn Hills. The African American population in Penn Hills is almost 50%. And it doesn't make sense that, you know, you may just have 1 or 2 council men or women, 1 or 2 people on a school board. And if you've been watching the news, Penn Hill School Board has been going through issues.
Ooh, some serious issues.
$9 or $10 million. That,
Serious issues.
$9 or $10 million that they can't find.
Yeah.
But
They can't find it.
They can't find
It's
it.
I wonder
missing.
what they
I don't
They
know.
blame it on somebody that look like us
Oh
too.
man.
So,
You don't know nothing about that,
What do you mean you can't find it? But we're going to wrap it all up, and overall, the opportunities in Pittsburgh, I feel we're moving forward, and we're going to a positive direction. But we just got to make sure we educate ourselves on the things that's going on, and you know, just who represents us. You know what I mean? And to just, Ms. Robin, you want to say something before I?
Well, I was thinking, are you moving on to the opportunities? I just wanted to kind of tie some things in together. One of the things is, as a community, even though we have our cultural differences and our different racism, or not racism, I'm sorry, but of color. One of the things is I'm hoping that the city of Pittsburgh, like in my area, I'm in the Highland Park area, is becoming very diverse. I think that if we get a mindset of having people support us regardless of what they look like, but what they do, and really doing, having the character of being the best person for that community is, I'm hoping that we can get there instead of just looking at color.
We got to take care of us first.
Yeah, we got to take care of us. And we're going to speak on that later. And I love y'all coming to the table for today's issues. I want to thank you, Ms. Robin. I want to thank Renard for coming, and of course, Amber. Make sure you catch us again. Thank you so much. And this is Monique Flowers, and you're watching Today's Issues.
all right.
And you're watching
Today's Issues.